Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jamie Mackay. I've got the fibre panel and I've only got 25 minutes, so no time at all. And so we've got basically a flax guy, a wool girl, and a hemp guy. They've got really interesting stories. We're going to do a very quick, brief self-introduction, and I'm going to start with Ben Scales here, who is from the CEO and co-founder of the KiwiFibre Innovation Limited company.
Thanks, Jamie. So, kia ora koutou, everyone. My name is Ben Scales, as Jamie mentioned. KiwiFibre develops harakeke fibre composite materials, replacing carbon fibre and fiberglass to solve global industrial issues across environmental and technical. To do this, we're revitalising one of New Zealand's oldest industries, the harakeke industry, which was once New Zealand's biggest export, peaking around World War One. So back in the day, pretty awesome history to it. There was a harakeke mill up and down in every town in the country, and we're looking to bring that back in a similar way.
Our next guest on the fibre panel is Derelee Potroz-Smith, CEO and founder of Woolchemy, a tech company that hopefully, and I've got my fingers crossed, might solve the strong wool woes of our nation. Derelee, I'm sure there's a lot of people keen to hear what you're about to say.
Great, thank you, Jamie, and kia ora koutou, everybody. Derelee Potroz-Smith, I'm the CEO and founder of a technical materials company that is making materials that are better for our planet and for people, and we're using strong wool. This is a much needed area of innovation. So in New Zealand, we're actually consuming 1 million nappies every day. This is producing, for each nappy, 1 cup of crude oil is in each nappy. And so this is a pretty major issue that we need to solve. And there's that saying, stick to your knitting. And I guess my take on that is we need to do what we're really good at here in New Zealand. We make amazing food and fibre, and wool just hasn't been utilised. We've got over 100,000 tonnes of New Zealand wool here. So it's an area of huge potential, and we're really excited to talk a little bit more about some of the materials that we're producing at the moment.
So, as I said, we've got flax, we've got strong wool, and we've got our hemp guy, whose name just happens to be Guy Wills, CEO of New Zealand Natural Fibres.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, Guy Wills, New Zealand Natural Fibres. So we've set out to accelerate and inspire the shift to sustainable and decarbonisation materials. Our focus is on with wool and hemp across the essentials of life. So basically, where we live, where we work and play, and what we wear. So we have the ability to really shift our dial by creasing through products from low tech, where it can be things like weeds and geotextiles, all the way through to biocomposites, similar to what Jamie's talking about, where there's really, really profound benefits for end users, solving some significant problems for them. I mentioned, we combine the benefits of and the properties of wool, of hemp, to create the optimal mix between the performance characteristics of functionality and price. And hemp particularly, which is a super plant, it can grow over 100 days. It can sequester over 1.6 times its weight CO2. So it's an incredibly versatile, very strong, and it's able to be used it's a broad range of applications, but we've really focused on the areas that have strong value propositions across their sector.
This young man beside me is 23 years of age. Along with his partner, William Morrell, they set up KiwiFibre Innovation Limited while they were doing their industrial product design degrees at the University of Canterbury. On the same day you sat your final exam, Ben, you managed to crowdfund or raise $1.5 million to kick off your company. For someone so young, this is a great start to your business career, and you and William used to wander around the University of Canterbury as the flax guys. Were you seen as oddballs?
Oh yeah. Everyone thought we were absolutely mad. Funnily enough, we actually started not with harakeke, which, by the way, isn't actually a flax, it's a lily. One of New Zealand's biggest misconceptions. But anyway, we started with cabbage tree leaves. We were given those in one of my assignments, the first and last assignment I got an A in. Trying to find uses for a waste material like cabbage tree leaf fibres. And we found, when we did a bit of digging on the topic, that nor cabbage tree leaves nor harakeke leaves could go into landfill. Sorry, they had to go into landfill. They couldn't go into the green waste bins because they would destroy all the machinery that was being used to process them. It was too strong for the machines. If it's too strong for the machines, why aren't we using it in industrial applications? So we started playing around with making different materials on an absolute shoestring budget. Thanks StudyLink for that. And then we didn't go very far with the StudyLink funding. Ended up not winning every incubator we ever did. Finding our first $10,000 from an energy drink company on a Facebook competition, which we built our first MVP with, and then raised venture capital money last year.
What a great story. What a great backstory. Derelee, your company, Woolchemy, and you threw the number out there before, 1 million nappies a day used in New Zealand. I'm just doing the maths on that, and we've got a hell of a lot of babies shitting themselves at the moment, haven't we? But 300,000 every minute. This is synthetically made nappies thrown out around the world. So if we can get New Zealand strong wool into those 300,000 every minute, our problems are solved.
Well, I hope so. We've got a couple of products called NewFlex and NewZorb. And now when you think about wool, typically wool would be put into something that lasts forever and is highly durable. We've flipped that completely on its head and reimagined wool. And I guess one of the reasons being was I came from a sheep farming family and went into an engineering degree. And then when I went to go back to have children again, I realised that we were just using so many nappies. And someone said yesterday, once you know something, you can't unknow it. And I just knew that I needed to do something about this issue. And of course, having had that background in the grassroots of being on a farm, I'd seen the pain of our family and other farming families where they were producing all this wool with knowing not where it was going. And so it seemed like a really good idea to actually put it into something that people have to buy in a recession, that they have to buy every day. So nappies is one thing. There's sanitary products. We have an ageing population around the world. So incontinence has become a big, massive issue. And then think about all the wet wipes. They're made of non-biodegradable materials. So there's another big market. So that's NewFlex. But then we've got NewZorb. This was actually our first technology that actually Ag Research helped us to develop. And this is a technology, an eco-friendly technology to make wool ultra absorbent. So wool would normally only absorb 30% of its weight in moisture. Our NewZorb technology can increase the absorbency by up to over 1,000%. So this means it can absorb any kind of chemical or water. So there's lots and lots of applications for this, but hygiene is such a massive issue that we've got to tackle.
Guy Wills, is hemp and flax, are you competition or complementary?
No, absolutely. I mean, in perspective, if we look across all those verticals I mentioned before, where we can change the construction and built environment and, where we play and where we work and what we wear. If you look at the total industry, natural fibres really only represents not even 1% of the total addressable market. In fact, it'd be considerably less than that. And flax products have been well developed and are being used extensively and grown. Hemp products, interesting, was banned in 1937 and have really only come to the foray since really 2018. So there's a whole learning curve. The world needs the combination of different plants that can provide a combination of benefits together to even get close to fulfilling the demand and meeting those requirements, and reducing our emissions, creating a much more sustainable environment. So we actually need to work together, and in a bigger context, as an industry here, not in New Zealand but globally, we need to work together. Where I've been involved in now building three technologies from a concept through to pretty well significant businesses, and taking businesses through that technology curve. And what I'm seeing, in particularly in fibre, where it has a tremendous opportunity to transform domestic economies, third world economies, and really move that dial. There needs to be much more collaboration and sharing of resources. We're already seeing enormous fragmentation occurring in the hemp space, where money's being raised and plants being set up everywhere, but they've either been left with no real clear demand, no designed product, or they can't actually understand the agronomy side. So we've taken very much a total ecosystem approach to it, where we manage from the growing agronomy to design, product development, processing, all the way through to the market. And great innovations like what Ben's doing and Derelee's doing. There's huge crossover between us in terms of the equipment, the capital processing.
All right, I'm going to come back to you about where we grow hemp around the country, or where we can potentially grow it. But Ben, back to the flax. We all know that flax loves wetlands. I've got a wetland down in Southland myself with truckloads of flax. It grows like a weed. It's a wonderful plant. Do you just harvest it from wetlands, or are you going to specifically plant it? How does it work?
Yeah, so when it was New Zealand's major industry, a long time before I was around, it was planted in a bit of a monoculture. There were just rows and rows and rows of it, which meant that as soon as there was a disease, it would rip right through an entire area of New Zealand, and it would cause recessions. And so what we're part of now is what's called the Harakeke Community Alliance, which is an alliance that brings together everyone that has an interest in harakeke. So that's weavers, that's iwi, that's the likes of us, and skincare companies who use the other parts of the plant, such as the gel, the seeds, and the oil, and the fibre. And we're bringing together all of this knowledge and building on the research that's already been done to propose a new architecture for a sustainable transition of land use for certain parts of land, including wetlands, to build up a much more biodiverse areas of farms and other places to grow.
Now, I'm going to come back to you, Derelee, but just on the hemp growing question, you and I had a chat on the show, The Country, 12 to 1 weekdays on News Talk ZB. Never miss a chance. Today on the show, we're growing something like 500 hectares nationwide. And I said to you, what is the potential area for this crop, and where in the country can we grow it? Because I've got a mate down in Southland growing it. Can you, for instance, grow it in Northland, or is it too subtropical there?
No, absolutely. I mean, the thing about hemp, and that's why I talked to the flax, in order to really meet this opportunity, we need crops that can grow in quite a variety of climates and soil conditions. So, comparison, say cotton, for example, you talk apparel, where it needs that tropical environment, and 85% of it goes to waste or burn. It can grow in temperate climates. We're currently growing most of it in Canterbury. We're now looking at moving that up into the North Island with Manawatu, Taranaki, Hawke's Bay up in Northland. And that's important to have that diversification strategy as well, to enable continuity of supply. And on top of that, we also have a plan. We have a global network where we aim to have growing of hemp crops and other crops right throughout the world, so that we can actually supply enough finished product. The automotive industry is begging for biocomposites, natural biocomposites. They need to move. We're seeing BMW, everyone move that. But the issue is, how can we guarantee enough supply? So in order to do that, we need that ability to be able to scale up. And that's why we need to have these industrial type crops that can go, that are actually benefiting growers. And we think, from our perspective, farming and growing can be the solution to to our issues, our emission issues.
Derelee, give me an idea on scale. Guy talked about scale. Give me an idea on scale as to if you were successful in your venture as a hygiene product for strong wool, how much could we potentially use? Bearing in mind, Ben talked about the flax industry, which was at its zenith, if you want, around about the First World War. Well, after the Second World War in this country, we had the Korean wool boom. We had Mother England taking every bale of wool we could produce. Wool was our number one export. It's about like 20th or 25th now. It doesn't even register. But what sort of scale could we get with New Zealand strong wool if your technology was taken up?
Well, if you take, for instance, what we use here in New Zealand, 1 million disposable nappies a day. So one product, and we put one layer of material in it, of our new flex. So that's around about 1 gram of material. You're going to need 365 tonnes of wool just for that one product. We're looking at putting it into multiple streams. So we're looking at one particular layer of a nappy, but we could look at other layers. We can put it into other products, and we are looking at other applications beyond hygiene as well. But that's the greatest need. But we probably other wool groups won't like me saying this, but I want to use up all of the volume of New Zealand's wool, which is going to be a big problem for probably us, the innovators of using wool, but not a bad problem for farmers. And we're already, I think we're now down to 5 sheep per person now, but we used to be 12. So maybe this is an opportunity to increase sheep in New Zealand. That would be a great thing to do.
Well, at one stage in the 1980s, I think we were sitting at over 20. So flax, let's go back to flax. You're looking to have a crack at the fiberglass and the carbon fibre market. Are you going to attack them on sustainability or price?
Well, that's always been the thing, and my co-founder and I have just come back from a big trip around Europe and the United States, actually talking to those customers, understanding, what they want. And what specific problems within those two criteria that we need to nail. So when we were still at university, we identified that there were a few major requirements for customers that use or users of fiberglass and carbon fiber, and they said it needed to be better, faster, stronger, and we've actually found that Harakeke can actually deliver in those things. It's got a very positively comparable strength to fiberglass and hemp, linen, and the likes, and it's got some fantastic properties, which means that it can really perform, and it can really start to solve technical issues for these customers. And so as we eventually scale, and every farm in the country has Harakeke growing on it, as well as the much more sheep that will be needed, we will be able to eventually compete on price. So price is getting there, technical, it's getting there, and then the sustainability factor. Our early LCA, life cycle analysis, shows it to have an 85% reduction in CO2 footprint throughout the manufacturing process compared to carbon fibre, which means that for some customers, that sustainability factor is huge, and to other customers in different industries and different regions, it's a completely different problem that we're solving. So the breadth of problems for customers around the world that we're able to solve is pretty awesome.
So if you think flax is a good product, hemp is the wonder crop. You've got the fibre, obviously guys talked about that. It can be used as a food, as an oil, as a supplement. Talk to me about hemp as building material.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an absolutely wonderful product, and I think one of the things, just to Ben's point, that we think to take this from what is a niche to mainstream is it's vital that you have that intersection between price and performance and functionality. So with that in mind, and wanting to make a significant difference, we've focused on a couple of areas within the building space. With hemp, it's got tremendous strength. It's got amazing acoustic and thermal regulating properties that lend itself to actually, you can actually build an entire home from hempen. It would take 1.2 hectares to do. But in areas where we're looking at wall replacement, acoustic paneling, insulation, all the wood alternatives, and inclusive in that is the enormous amount of plastic and polystyrene that's used in building and disposed of into landfill. So we're also working on composites of that, where we actually grind down the core of the hemp, turn into a powder, and make a plastic replacement. And that is completely transforms the level of plastics and polystyrenes that are used in the building envelope. So, but we are really focusing on where the value propositions are the strongest to start out, because, as I mentioned before, this is really about creating a movement to get that critical mass, to take things mainstream and not having too many false starts. And so we concur that, really to hone in on those spaces.
Derelee, just before we get our final round with the panel, I want to ask you, and you touched on it, the wonderful attributes of wool as a healthcare product. It absorbs smell.
Yeah, that's not all. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about sustainability, but I wouldn't be doing this unless I thought there were some really intangible benefits for using wool as well. So one of the things is thermal regulating properties of wool, which are innate in nature. So we can sort of leverage wool for what it's really good for, and we can enhance it with science. So temperature regulation is really important. If you're a baby or if you're an older person, you can't regulate your temperature. And what we found, and I found actually this out from my colleague, my business partner, she's a young mum, and she found that the nappy materials get very, very cold. So imagine a world where your baby would sleep through the night, and as a parent, you'd sleep through the night. Like, that is something I would have bought when my children were young. The other thing is the odour control, which you just talked about, Jamie, which is maybe not as important. You forgive your baby if they poop their nappy. But for an older person, that is quite a major issue, because a lot of the manufacturing companies are adding chemicals to mask odours. Wool does that innately. In fact, we've tested it. It will neutralise odours by up to 86%, which is off the ranks in terms of odour control.
Okay, let's just pretend this is the Dragon's Den. You've got a 20-second sales pitch. There's the judges out there. I'm going to start with you, Ben, because they tell us if we go over time, there's a trap door and we fall down it. Yeah, and I've got to catch a plane this afternoon. So away you go, 20 seconds on flax.
The Harakeke industry is coming back. Watch this space. It's going to solve technical and environmental problems of global industries, and as an additional revenue stream for farmers in New Zealand, it's going to solve a lot of issues there.
Guy, your turn.
If we want to move the dial on global emissions and sustainability, we need a crop that has the capability to scale, that has incredible CO2 to biomass capability, 1.6 times its own weight in hemp, and has the ability to compete with incumbent legacy oil, synthetic products head on in terms of price, functionality and performance, if we are really going to move the dial.
Derelee, final word to you.
Oh, great. For me, less is more. Look to nature to do amazing things. Enhance it with science and innovation. Educate our younger people to get into fibre technology, because this is what we're really good at, and we can solve so many global problems with something that we do really well with here.
Well, there you go. 21, 20, 19 seconds left to go. We're going to nail this panel on time. So give it up for Guy Wills, Derelee Potroz-Smith, and Ben Scales. I've loved the panel. I've loved chatting to you guys. It's been a pleasure to be here. Have a good afternoon.